Hello, everyone to the Float Nurse podcast, and I'm here with Spencer Wilding. Hi, Spencer. Thanks for being here.
All right, mate. Yeah, thanks for having us.
No worries. So I wanted to ask how you got into the acting industry.
Well, I got into the acting industry. It was through the sports world, really. That was my journey. How because I thought to myself, right, how am I going to get into the films? At the time, we had nobody in the family that was in the industry.
Okay.
So I listened to my thoughts, my fight gods, whatever you want to call them, and they said, right, get into the boxing, the kickboxing,
nice.
Get good. I became the Welsh and British kickboxing champion. Then I got signed up with a sports agency based in Crystal Palace at the time in London, and then I got more of an acting agent down the road. So that's how I got into the industry.
Awesome. That's really cool.
Mm.
So do you still do any of that whilst you act? The kickboxing?
I used to take a lot of classes. I've trained thousands of kids, adults, over the years. But, obviously with all this lockdown and stuff, I've closed the classes down now for about a year or two. And I've been busy with the film work and stuff like that. So, I do a little bit of one-to-one with people. When the gate opens up again, probably in the summertime, I might start some little classes here and there. Until the film work comes thick and thin for me again.
Yeah, that's really cool. So, have you got any auditions or roles in the works at the moment?
Yeah, well, I've got a film that's coming out sometime this year called Devil. We filmed that a year or two ago in Prague. So that was supposed to come out last year, but obviously with the COVID and all that, it got put back, and it's in post. So that's a good one. If you like your horrors, anybody watching this, if you like your horrors, I definitely recommend watching Devil.
Awesome, cool.
So I've got a strong character, and I just can't talk about it. And the auditions are starting to come through here and there. But it's good.
Really cool. Obviously, I know you for a variety of roles, but what was it like stepping into the role of Darth Vader in Star Wars Rogue One?
Yeah, it's one of them. It's not my first role. So I was like 40 odd films into it before landing that role, and it was awesome. It was an iconic character, the baddest bad boy on silver screen. And it was an honor to jump in that suit. With the few legends that have been in there before me.
Yeah.
Me and Dan, two of us played a part, and we smashed it for the fans, and I think everybody was happy. And I've done several shows since then. But it was a great one to have on the CV, mate.
Nice. Yeah, well, it's definitely one of the better. I think it's one of my favorite Star Wars films, Rogue One.
So. Yeah, Rogue One. You know what? They're all good.
Yeah.
But Rogue One, because Gareth Edwards is such a diehard fan of the trilogy and stuff like that in the back of the day, and for him to be directing a film like Rogue One, he loved it just as much as all the rest of us. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, which is really cool to hear, obviously.
Yeah.
So there was did you feel a lot of pressure taking on a role like Vader?
Well, you know what? I wouldn't use the word pressure.
Okay.
It's just obviously we had to get the movements identical, but there's one spirit and soul of Darth Vader, and he uses his actors. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he jumps in your body, and then the magic takes place, and you become one with the Force. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally get that. That's awesome. Obviously, your height has obviously been a big factor in playing some really cool characters in the likes of Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, loads of other ones. So what's been some of your favourites to do over the years?
You know what? Everybody loves a monster. You know what I mean? But obviously, as actors, like to get out the costumes as well and get our face seen.
Yeah.
But luckily for me, in the 50 odd shows I've done, it's half I'm under a heavy prosthetics or an animatronic head, but the other half I'm playing myself.
Of course.
Like a gangster or a pirate and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? But I love the Wolfman. I love playing the characters of Doctor Who. It was great to go and jump on the one of two of the first White Walkers on the first series of the Game of Thrones. Nobody knew how big it was going to be back then. So I feel very privileged for that as well. It's great working with these, such massive productions. And the big budgets, you get the best of the crop.
Of course.
You know what I mean? So some of the makeup guys I work with, it's just incredible to sit down there. I've been lucky enough to be sitting in the chair with Rick Baker doing my makeup, and Dave Elsey and Lou and Goran and Brian and other great makeup artists. You know what I mean? I've worked with the best. I've worked with the best out there, and it's just great to be in their presence. You know what I mean? So it's nice. So it's a big, you know, it's teamwork. You know what I mean?
Totally.
And you're one of the cogs in the system. So it's great.
Nice. That's really cool to hear. So you obviously you're in Hobbs and Shaw as well, weren't you? Was it like a year or so? What was it like coming face to face with Dwayne Johnson?
That was cool, man. You know, I'm a fan of him anyway. Him and Jason Statham. So to be in the same room and studios with the guys, you know, they brought me in as family, and I left as part of that family. You know, but I was on that show for 2 days. You know what I mean? So I was in and out. But they let me come in, and we made some fun. It was a very quick scene, but the fans liked it. It was more showreel. It was showreel material, and it was it made the you know the you know what do they call it now? The trailers and stuff like that. It was all, you know, that I've been lucky, even if a little cameos, he always seemed to make the trailers, which is great.
Awesome, nice, really cool. So what are some of your biggest, I wouldn't say biggest accomplishments, what are some of your personal accomplishments that you believe you've been able to tick off whilst you've been going through your career?
Well, you know, I battled with dyslexia, and which I've done hundreds of Q&As now. I always talk about with dyslexia because there's kids out there with dyslexia, you know, because I couldn't read or write till 32, 33 like that properly. Wow. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I was a late starter, hence I was doing a lot of sports beforehand, before getting into the theory as such. But what helped me read more was more scripts coming through. And it's like the production, you know, the industry is waiting for me to get to that space before they offer me the other role. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So that's been one of my achievements, to get solid with my reading and things like that. And then the acting comes through a lot more stronger like that. Do you know what I mean? I've got the monsters down, but, you know, the acting's coming through nice and strong now. So it's great.
Nice. That's really cool to hear. I'm glad that you've been able to learn as you go on, I suppose. That's the best way of looking at it.
You're always learning to the day you leave.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? You're always picking up something here and there. And each character I play, it's got a different feel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's different presence. So, you know, I'm not typecast for a monster, man. I'm doing all sorts of things. You know what I mean? So it's great.
Of course, you're Vader, you're a monster, you're a knight in Harry Potter, aren't you? Obviously.
Yeah. So, did 3 Harry Potter films. I was the werewolf in the Prison of Azkaban.
Oh,
Played
wow.
one, I double-dagged with him 5 for a day or two when he meets up with the Giants. And I was in Hagrid's suit there. And I played one of the Knights, and definitely I was part 2. But then I played Death Eater and Greyback in Harry Potter Wizards Unite video game for the phones, for the iPhones. Wow. So I did that, and then obviously I did some other games like Lord of the Rings and Shadow of War and all that.
Oh, cool! That's really nice. You mentioned before we started the interview, obviously, about you were into building construction. You said. So was that prior to your sports days, or did you do it at the same time?
Well, the family that I have, there's a lot of plasterers, stonemasons, and you know, brickies in my family that I had. So I always laboured on the family. You know, okay. I was working in the security industry for 25, 30 years. You know, and then part of the parcel being a boxer and a kickboxer, you know, you get landed with them sort of jobs, which is great. It makes a great family and friends.
Yeah, of course.
But I worked in a steel factory when I was like 19, 20, something like that. And I was there for 12 months. But then an Uncle Mike of mine, he subcontract guys over to Holland, Rotterdam and Germany and France. Yeah. So I worked in Holland for 2 years on construction. Oh, wow. I used to do 3-month contracts, come home for a week, go back again, which I loved. It was great working on a 38-story building, the Beursplein in Rotterdam. Nice. Yeah, so we've got lots of great memories there. Hard graft, but I like the hard graft. Do you know what I mean? And when I come back, my mum got a little bit poorly, so I come back when I was like 23, 24, and then I started kickboxing. You know, and then that's when my dreams started to happen in the movie world. Then I could just start to see it build. You know, I had a great support in my hometowns. And you know, the local news channels are following us, and they, you know, I had everybody behind me, which was great.
Nice. That's really cool to hear. Obviously, I've seen you do a few conventions over the years. What are some of your favourite moments for doing those? Like,
you know what? I go all over the world, literally all over the world. You know, I've had Stan Lee to the side of me, Gary Booth the other side. You know, some living legends and legends that have passed. You know what I mean? And I go to the small ones and I go to the big ones. You know, I've done the MegaCon in Orlando. You know, 250,000 people, Mexico, City there, Iceland, Germany, France. I've done everywhere, Japan. So what I like, I love meeting the fans, mate. I really like meeting the fans, and I love to see their cosplays, because these guys work on their cosplays all year for that one Comic-Con. Do you know what I mean? And I feel their passion, and I try and help them out as much as I can. Do you know what I mean? I'll get some pictures of them, share them on my social media and stuff like that. Yeah, and I've obviously chilling with the other actors as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah,